Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật.
Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. It is 10:36 a.m. California time. Today is Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. I am Master Thich Thong Lai, and I would like to extend my warmest regards to all the people in the country and my compatriots overseas. According to the planned schedule today, I will answer questions regarding to the Diamond Sutra discussed in previous live stream sessions. After that, I would preach more in depth about the essence of the Diamond Sutra, which was translated by Holy Monk Gu Malatap. First, I will answer an email from a Buddhist group in Maryland. They sent questions about the conflict of Buddha when he preached about giving alms in the Diamond Sutra and the Earth Stone Sutra. In the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha answered a Venerable Dubode about Bodhisattva giving alms without dwelling on the form, sound, smell, taste, tactile feelings, and dharma to receive immeasurable merit. But in the Earth Stored Sutra, which preached by the Buddha in heaven for his mother, specifically section 10, comparing the merit of alms-giving, he encouraged the emperors, prime ministers, laymen, or commoners to see a poor person who was miserable or sick, or the pagoda was damaged, and make offerings or give alms to rebuild them. Then they will be blessed. In one sutra, the Buddha said, if we see people who suffer or temples that was damaged and we help, we receive blessing. In the other sutra, he taught to receive immeasurable blessings, we need to give alms without dwelling on form, sound, smell, tactile feelings, and dharma. The merit from this is inconceivable, greater than nothingness of the north, south, east, and west direction. So they want me to explain more clearly this contraindication of the Earth Sword Sutra versus the Diamond Sutra in the matter that Buddha encouraged for alms-giving. My original plan was to preach about how the Buddha enlightened Elder Dubode. Dubode, what do you think? Can the Buddha be recognized by means of his bodily form? No, Master Honored One. The Buddha cannot be recognized by means of his bodily form. Why? Because when the Buddha speaks of bodily form, it is not a real form, but it is just an illusion. The Buddha then spoke to Dubode. All that has a form is an illusion and unreal. When you see that all forms are elusive and unreal, then you will begin to perceive your true Buddha's nature. This morning I am about to give a Dharma talk about the Buddha sitting in front of Elder Dubode, who was one of his very first disciples that obtained arhat level. He mainly practiced on detaching form. The Buddha asked if the elder saw his 32 great markings and 80 beauties so he can see the Tathagata or not. The elder Dubode said it was not because of that, even though he saw the Buddha in bone and flesh. He was born at the same time with the Buddha, and he was ordained and taught by the Buddha. But he said that he did not see the Buddha. The Buddha said when he could see his physical body is not the Buddha, then he will then see the Tathagata. I will preach about this in the later part of my Dharma talk. For now, I would like to answer the email from a group of Buddhist followers in Maryland who has questions about the conflict in giving alms between what was written in the Diamond Sutra and what was written in the Earth-Stored Sutra. The Earth-Stored Sutra stated when we see a degraded temple, torn sutra scriptures, suffering people, poor people, or lack of necessity, and we give alms, then we will receive enormous blessing. I now invite you to listen to this letter from a group of Buddhist followers who are currently living in Maryland. I will use my best knowledge to answer the question. Please listen. Dear Venerable Thich Thong Lai, we are a group of Buddhist followers who respectfully send you this email. We have been listening to your previous preaching about the Diamond Sutra, and we really enjoy your Dharma talks. However, we specialize in reciting the Earth-Stored Sutra, and we have a question. Master, can you please kindly explain for us the following section in the Diamond Sutra? Furthermore, Dubode, in the practice of compassion and charity, a bodhisattva should be detached. That is to say, he should practice compassion and charity without regards to appearances, without regards to form, without regards to sound, smell, taste, touch, or any quality of any kind. Dubode, this is how the disciple should practice compassion and charity. Why? Because practicing compassion and charity without attachment is the way to receive the highest perfect wisdom. It is the way to becoming a living Buddha. Dubode, do you think that you can measure all the space answered, "No, most honored one cannot possibly measure all the space in the eastern heavens." Dubude, can space in all the western, southern, and northern heavens, both above and below, be measured? Dubude answered, "No, most honored one cannot possibly measure all the space in the western, southern, and northern heavens." Well, Dubude, the same is true for the merit of the disciple who practices compassion and charity without any attachment to appearances, without cherishing any idea of form. It is impossible to measure the merit they will occur. We think this section of the Diamond Sutra is conflicting with the chapter 10 of the Earth-Stored Sutra, the condition and comparative merit and virtue of giving. Master, I would like to read this chapter. At that time, Earth-Stored Bodhisattva, based on Buddha's awesome spiritual strength, rose from his seat, knelt on one knee, placed his palms together, and said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, I have observed beings within the path of karma and compared their acts of giving. Some do a little and some do a lot. Some receive blessings for one life, some for 10 lives, and some receive great blessings and benefits for hundreds or thousands of lives. Why is that? Please, honored one, can you explain that for us?" At that time, the Buddha told Earth-Store Bodhisattva, "Here in this assembly, in the palace of the Trimsisma heaven, I will now discuss the comparative merit and virtue derived from acts of giving done by the beings in the Jambudvipa. Listen attentively to what I say." Earth-Store said to the Buddha, "I have wondered about this matter and will be pleased to listen." The Buddha told Earth-Store Bodhisattva, "In Jambudvipa, leaders of nations, prime ministers, high officials, great elders, great Kshatriyas, great Brahmins, and others may encounter those who are poor, hunchbacked, crippled, dumb, mute, deaf, retarded, blind, or handicapped in other ways. Those leaders and great people may wish to give to those unfortunate ones, and may be able to do so with great compassion, a humble heart, and a smile. They may arrange to give generously, either personally with their own hands or by arranging for others to do so. Using gentle words and sympathetic speech, the blessing and benefits that such leaders and good people will occur will be comparable to the meritorious virtue derived from giving to as many Buddha as there are grains of sand in 100 Ganges River. Why is that? Those leaders and good people will receive such rewards of blessing and benefits for having shown a great, compassionate heart toward the most impoverished and handicapped individual. Throughout hundreds of thousands of lives to come, they will always have an abundance of the 7 gems, not to mention clothing, food, and the necessity of life. Moreover, earth store, in the future, the leaders of nation, Brahmins, and others may encounter Buddhist stupas, monasteries, or images of Buddha, Bodhisattva, hearers, or Prakika Buddha, and personally make offerings or give gifts to them. If they do that, each of those leaders and good people will serve as Lord Chakra for a duration of 3 eons, enjoying supreme, wonderful bliss. If they are able to transfer the blessing and benefits of that giving, dedicating to the Dharma realm, then those leaders of nations and good people will reign as great Dharma heaven kings for 10 eons. Moreover, earth store, in the future, leaders of nation, Brahmins, and others may, upon encountering ancient Buddhist stupas, monasteries, or sutras, and images that are damaged, decaying, or broken, resolve to restore them. Those leaders and good people may then do so themselves and encourage others, as many as hundreds of thousands of people, to help thereby establish affinities. Those leaders and good people will become wheel-turning kings for hundreds of thousands of successive lives, and those who made offerings with them will later be leaders of small nations for as many lives. If they resolve to dedicate that merit before the stupas and monasteries, then based on that limitless and unbounded reward, those leaders, good people, and their helpers will all eventually complete the path to Buddhahood. Moreover, earth store, in the future, leaders of nation, Brahmin, and others may have compassionate thoughts upon seeing the old, the sick, or women in childbirth, and may provide them with medicinal herbs, food, drink, and bedding, so as to make them peaceful and comfortable. The blessing and benefits derived from doing that are quite inconceivable. For 1,000 eons, they will always be lords of the pure dwelling heavens. For 200 eons, they will be the lords in the 6 desire heavens, and they will ultimately attain Buddhahood. They will never fall into the evil paths, and for hundreds of thousands of lives, they will hear no sound of suffering. Moreover, earth store, in the future, leaders of nation, Brahmins, and other can give in that way. They will receive limitless blessing. If, in addition, they are able to dedicate that merit, be it great or small, they will ultimately attain Buddhahood. How much more easily will they be able to attain the rewards of becoming Sakra, Brahma, or a wheel-turning king? Therefore, Earth Store, you should urge beings everywhere to learn to give in those ways. Moreover, Earth Store, in the future, if good men or women manage to plant only a few good roots within the Buddha Dharma, equivalent to no more than a strand of hair, a grain of sand, or a mote of dust, they will receive incomparable blessing and benefits. This is where a group of Buddhist followers in Maryland question because of the conflict with the Diamond Sutra. In the Earth Stored Sutra, the eyes were used to see people who are poor and need help. The sound was used to appease these poor people and ask other people to lend a hand to help. The main person will be blessed and reborn as a Dharma wheel-turning king for many lives. The associate will be blessed and reborn as king of small countries for many lives as well. This is where the group in Maryland realized the Buddha conflict and his own Dharma preaching. In my opinion, this isn't any conflict. Please listen to me. Let's read the section telling the elder Dubode was listening to Buddha's teaching. Furthermore, Dubode, in the practice of compassion and charity, a Bodhisattva should be detached. That is to say, he should practice compassion and charity without regards to appearances, without regards to form, without regards to sound, smell, taste, touch, or any quality of any kind. Dubode, this is how the disciple should practice compassion and charity. Why? Because practicing compassion and charity without attachment is the way to reach the highest perfect wisdom. It is the way to become a living Buddha. Dubode, do you think that you can measure all of the space in the eastern heavens? No, most honorable one. One cannot possibly measure all the space in the eastern heavens. Dubode, can space in all the western, southern, and northern heavens, both above and below, be measured? No, most honored one. One cannot possibly measure all the space in the western, southern, and northern heavens. Well, Dubode, the same is true of the merits of a disciple who practices compassion and charity without any attachment to appearances, without cherishing any idea of form. It is impossible to measure the merit they will occur. Let me analyze for you to understand. Who were the listeners in heaven when the Buddha preached the Earth Store Sutra? They were the Devas. What do the Devas dream about? They dream to be kings of different heavens. The Deva hold the 10 good precepts to receive the blessings of being born in heaven. When preaching in heaven, the Buddha preached for the Devas, not for the human race. The Buddha tells them if they see temples that are damaged, Buddha's statues that are broken, and scriptures that are torn, they convince people to spend money to repair them. They will be king in different heavens for many eons. Those who assist them will be kings of smaller countries as well. Let me explain to you. I agree that at the beginning it was confusing. I want to remind you that the blessing to be a king is not comparable to those who recognize their Buddha's nature, rid their delusional mind, and retain their true mind. The blessing of recognizing the Buddha nature is unspeakable. The god of Sutra realm has 1,000 wives and 1,000 concubines. The god of Churasmisama has 10,000 concubines. These gods haven't detached the form of beauty. They are still attached to the beauty of these concubines. They dream how bright their health can be and how many palaces they possess. The gods haven't detached from the forms. They have many wives to enjoy the beauty, the lust, the tactile feelings between male and female. They like to listen to the sweet talk. Have they rid their delusional minds yet? No, they have not. And because of this reason, they still have not escaped from the three material realms, the Vokla, Rubukloka, and Non-Rupaluka. The blessings in the Earth Sword Sutra is the blessing for the gods in heaven. The Earth-stored Bodhisattva will never be the Buddha. In the Earth-stored Sutra, save sentient beings many times from the three bad paths. The Buddha taught us to give alms, make offerings, and print scriptures, unlike what he taught Elder Dubode, which was practicing generosity and giving away the form, sound, smell, taste, tactile feelings, and dharma. For example, God sprinkled many white lotus and used uncounted gold and jewelry to rebuild palaces to offer the Buddha, but he still attached to the beauty of the concubines. He still is not free from misery. Unless he gave away his fondness of seeing beautiful heaven concubines, of hearing heaven musical instruments, of tasting great heaven foods, the tactile feelings of being close to the concubines and Dharma. The Buddha taught that his Dharma was like a boat to help sentient beings reach the other side. Once docked at the Prajna side, the Dharma must be discarded. Many monks attached to the Dharma, which were formalities, eat exactly at lunch, reciting at specific schedules, and many more. The more these monks attach to formalities, the more the Dharma they depend on. How much alms does a Bodhisattva give? The wealthy merchant, Gap Godak, gave a lot of alms, and Bill Gates made a lot of donation, but their eyes still like to see beautiful things. Their ears like to listen to the sweet praise. Their mouths likes to taste great food. Their body likes the comfortable feeling, air-conditioned rooms, and a soft bed. They still cling to the form, sound, smell, taste, tactile feelings, and Dharma, so they are not free from suffering. A young man who is deeply in love with a beautiful girl, and he is suffering because he cannot marry her. He came to the temple, and I advised him to give alms to my temple that needs to be repaired. He then donated 100 gold tassels to help me build the temple. Will that help him free from his sick love? The answer is no, because he did not give away his eyes that like to see her beauty, his ears that like to listen to her sweet voice, and his tongue that like to taste the great food. If he is currently liking to drink alcohol and he cannot give up his drinking habit, he is still suffering. He still likes to listen to praise and hate the insults. He likes to go clubbing and listen to beautiful singers. And his tongue likes drinking alcohol and tasting great foods. This man cannot rid his delusional mind. Therefore, the merit of printing sutras and making Buddhist statue is limited. He will be born in heaven, and when he uses all his merit, he will be back in the samsara again. Only if he can give away all his eyes that likes to see the beauty, his ears that like to hear praises and singing, his tongue that like the taste of alcohol and meat, his body that like the hot and cold feelings, his tactile feelings between male and female, and the doctrine and evil dharma. That is when he will inherit unlimited merits, because he finally retained his true mind. The merit from giving alms by the wealthy merchant Gap Gudak is not comparable to the merit of Elder Dubode, understanding Buddha's teaching. He understood the teaching from the Buddha and gave all the 6 senses up. In chapter 5 of the Lotus Sutra, recognizing disciples, the Buddha told the elder Gap Ga-dip and Anang that he obtained his disciple Dubode after cultivating for many years and offering many Buddhas. He would become the name and appearance Buddha. Once understood the Dharma and detached, everything is not the uttermost vow of a Bodhisattva. In the end, a Bodhisattva has to rely on the form and appearances to save sentient beings. As you can see, Elder Dubode practiced on the emptiness and detached all forms, but the Buddha ordained him as name and appearance Buddha, so he can return to the samsara to save the sentient being. It is not an easy task to save the sentient beings without relying on the sound and appearances. Without displaying the 32 great marks and 80 beauties, it is difficult to introduce the Dharma to people who are not predestined. They will not follow a spiritual leader who has defective eyes, ugly nose, and a crooked mouth. If they are not close to the clergy, then how will they have a chance to learn about Dharma and open their minds? You must understand the meaning of giving away the form, sound, smell, taste, tactile feelings, and Dharma to be free from the misery. A person who is addicted to beauty must give away his lust for beauty. His eyes should no longer be attracted to the sign of beauty only. Seeing the beauty and the ugliness, must understand they are only a form of delusion. Whether this singer performs a great song or an off-key song, we need to give away the mind of differences, then we will be free. Giving away the taste of alcohol and meat, giving away the liking of coolness during summer and warmness during the winter. in giving away the good and devil dharma to rid your delusional mind and retain the true mind. Even though the earth-stored sutra has the conflict, but remember, it was Dharma talk about the Buddha's mother. His mother did not have a chance to learn and understand Dharma. After Queen Maya gave birth to the Buddha, she passed away in 1 week and was reborn in heaven. The Buddha preached for his mother to show her how the devas can make their blessings. The Buddha left behind 84,000 ways to practice Dharma. In every way, he all used the blessings of devas to preach at the beginning. Now, if you use your wisdom to analyze, to understand, being a king can make a lot of good and bad karmas. For example, a president who supports abortion and approves the abortion along with all the senators who propose this law, once he passes away, his approval will murder millions of fetuses in the United States, and they are still in their mother's womb. That bad karma he has to repay in the future. The king who rules his country has many miseries, even though he lives in royal palaces protected by national guards and travels in airplanes that cost billions of dollars. In the view of a Bodhisattva, he is building up his disasters for the next life. If war happens, the king commands the soldiers to go to battle. A million soldier who goes to war make a million mother become sleepless and lose their appetites. Many people would be worried. This is bad karma in the next life. If he does not cultivate to rid his delusional mind and retain his true mind, once all his blessings are used up, he will be reborn to pay for the bad karma. The cause of making millions of mothers and wives nervous will give him heart disease for many lives. He will always be nervous, sleepless, and lose his appetite. Ladies and gentlemen, creating the blessing in this life to enjoy in the next life is the disaster in the third life. The blessings mentioned in the Diamond Sutra, which was taught by the Buddha to the elder Buddha, that Bodhisattva gives alms without dwelling on form, sound, smell, taste, tactile feelings, and dharma to teach them to give away the beauty. The eyes are no longer attached to beauty only. Beauty or ugliness are all delusional. The ears is no longer like the praise only, but the praise and insults are all equal. The taste of alcohol and delicious foods no longer own our body. In the old days, after the northern communists took over southern Vietnam, the people became very hungry. There were people who lived in the Long Tien Temple to do good deeds. From the temple to the Aunt Tu's coffee shop at the entrance of the village was about 1,000 feet. Her shop opened at 4 a.m. for people to drink their morning coffee. I usually gong the bell in the morning to wake the Shanghai up. The layman also woke up at that time and went to the coffee. There was an older man who was the groundskeeper in the temple, who also went to the coffee shop, but he did not have any money for coffee. He lived in the temple because his house was illegally confiscated by the communists. His wife and his children are all overseas. Instead of chanting Shurangama Sutra in the morning with the Shanghai, he said that he couldn't. He could only recite the sutra in the afternoon because he had to go to the coffee shop. I asked him why he went to the coffee shop when he did not have money to pay for the coffee. He said he went to the shop to ask Aunt Tu a cup of tea, and he stayed there to enjoy the aroma of the coffee, so it calmed his coffee addiction. He had been drinking coffee for over 30 years. At that time, he had to be up because of his habit. If he did not have his morning coffee, he wouldn't be able to function throughout the day. He asked for a cup of tea and inhaled the coffee aroma from the others. Even though he did good deeds by taking care of the temple's landscape and cooking in the kitchen, he would never escape the cycle of birth and death because he was still attached to the coffee aroma. Isn't that true? The more good deeds he did, the more blessing he will receive in the human and heaven realms. He will be reborn as a good-looking person because offering flowers to the Buddha and living a wealthy life. If he gave up his addiction to the coffee aroma and no longer depend on the coffee shop at 4 in the morning, then he would be free. A young man who loves Six, a beautiful girl in his company, and comes to the temple. I teach him to write a praying scroll to ask for peace and happiness. Will that help him end his misery? If I ask him to print Lotus Sutra, will that help him end his lovesick? In this section of the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha told Elder Dubode that an individual who did all the things and are still not free from the misery because this person still have the eyes that attach to the beautiful one, the ears that attach to the sweet praise only, the tongue that attaches to the taste of alcohol and meat, and the body attaches to the comfortable only. This person needs to give all of these attachments away to be free. The Diamond Sutra shows us to rid the delusional mind and retain the true mind. Most of the monks only show us to earn blessings, but don't show us the ultimate alms-giving. Donating as much as Bill Gates, but still have the greed and the attachments. The ending result will be the disaster in his third life. In this section of the Earth Store Sutra, the Buddha praised the blessing of alms-giving, of reciting sutras, of offering clothes and assets to the poor, and showing them to end their miseries will help us have enough blessings to be born in heaven. However, if our eyes will attach to the beauty, our ears still attached to the praise, and our tongues attached to the taste of alcohol, then we will still belong to the cycle of birth and death. We have to show them the blessings of ridding the delusional mind. This is giving up the beauty and no longer attaching it in the future. Giving up the feeling for the singers, the taste of alcohol, and the aroma of coffee no longer interferes with our daily activities. There was a tricycle driver who used the temple's ground to rest at noon during the Republic of Vietnam era. In the morning, he would drive 2 routes to make some money. He then bought a bottle of liquor and a ballot for lunch. Once he was done with his meal, he packed his tricycle on the temple's ground and took a nap. I asked him how far his route was. He told me that it would be 8 miles in the morning and roughly the same in the afternoon. I asked him how much he made for driving these routes. He said that he made enough for a bottle of liquor, a bullet, and some money for his wife and his children. He only kept enough for the alcohol and the ballot after the long routes. cultivating Dharma to be in charge of this body or controlling the 6 senses. The alcohol no longer makes us haul the long drives, and coffee aroma no longer wakes us up at 4 a.m. in the morning. A greatest alms-giving is giving up the attachments of the 6th sense. We have the right to attach to the beauty, but the Buddha told us to give it up. We have the right to enjoy the music, but give it up. We have the right to get drunk, but give it up. We have the right to enjoy music, but give it up. We have the right to get drunk, but give it up. Some even use drugs. If we donate billions of dollars and still use drugs, still attached to the taste of alcohol, the beauty and the sound, then you will forever be trapped in the 3 material realm. Diva Luka, Rupa Luka, and non-Rupa Luka. Furthermore, you still not rid your delusional mind and retained your true mind. The Buddha preached the Earth-Sword Sutra in heaven, telling the divas about people who do good deeds without transferring the merit to their relatives, and they only have enough blessings for 1 life. If they transfer the merit to their relatives, then they have enough blessings for 3 lives, but they still have a thought about themselves and their relatives. They place their own ego upon their children and relatives. However, if they transfer the merit to all sentient beings, so they all become Buddha, which is a higher level of alms-giving. Once they transfer merits to all sentient beings, they would have the mind of non-dwelling. That is, all the sentient beings have the Buddha's nature, and they all will become Buddha in the future. The Earth Store Bodhisattva questioned the Buddha why people gave alms. Some have blessings enough for 1 life, or 3 lives, and even uncounted lives, and some would become Buddha. The Buddha said people who do good deeds without transferring the merit to anyone else, then they only have enough blessings for 1 life. If they transfer the merit to their relatives, then they have enough blessings for only 3 lives, because they place their self-ego upon their relatives. Those who transfer the merits to all sentient beings in the 10 directions, so they all become Buddha, which is a higher level of alms-giving. Every sentient being has Buddha's nature and devil's nature, but the Diamond Sutra shows us how to rid the delusional mind and retain the true mind. Today I preach sutras, but not do anything for you, because you already have the seed of Dharma. I only speak up to remind you. You have to pay attention that the Diamond Sutra was preached for the Arhat who wanted to learn about the Bodhisattva's vows. The Earth-Stored Sutra was preached for the Buddha's mother who hadn't ordained to hold the 5 Buddha's precepts and wasn't experienced Dharma because she passed away after giving birth to the Buddha. The Buddha went to heaven to preach Dharma for her. For the first time, so he preached about the blessing created by the human and the devas. After you listen to the Diamond Sutra, please do not stop paying respect to the Buddha statue, bowing to the respected venerable, or paying respect to your parents. It is wrong if you stop paying respect. Elder Dubode was the specialist in practicing the detached forms and remain in the true mind, but in the end, he was ordained as the name and appearance Buddha, because he made unlimited alms. made offerings to sentient beings, and built numerous temples for many eons. You can reveal this by reading the 5th chapter of the Lotus Sutra. He practiced the emptiness method, but the Buddha ordained him as name and appearance Buddha to create the balance. As you listen to this and decide to detach from all the formalities and everything else, but that would make you detach to the Dharma, you should only listen to rid the delusional mind and retain the true mind. A disciple who bears many miseries, and I told him to give alms, make offerings, and print sutra scriptures, he will never be free of his misery. Only showing him this sutra to teach him to give away the form of male and female, beauty and ugliness in his eyes, then he will be free from his misery. This is the ultimate alms-giving, to rid his delusional mind and retain his true mind, like the Buddha's teaching. Retain in the true mind and still have the forms. The Amitabha Buddha created the Pure Land world that is very beautiful. Why did he say the ground was made from the 7 rare jewels? Because the people from our world obsess with jewelries. Therefore, the Buddha showed us the Pure Land. He also stated that the halo of the Amitabha Buddha was the brightest and his height was the tallest. This was for people who couldn't give away the form, sound, smell, taste, tactile feelings, and Dharma. That was the reason the Amitabha Buddha created the Pure Land world. Vietnam is a dream. The United States is a dream. Europe is also a dream. And Australia is another dream. We all like beautiful dreams and not the nightmare. It is also quite easy to understand. Everyone likes to live in the United States and is afraid to live in Vietnam. It was all just a dream, but we all want to live in the beautiful dream and not the bad dream. Once you understand this, then you will be free. Elder Dubode was number 1 practicing the emptiness. One day, the king of the 7th heaven came down to praise him. In his deep meditation, the elder told the king of devas that he did not preach any Dharma. And the king said that he also did not listen to any Dharma. There was no preaching nor listening. That is the uttermost truth. In the end, Elder Dubode is the name and appearance Buddha. You have to pay attention to this. Do not discard all the formalities after you listen to the Diamond Sutra. You are not truly free and detached from the forms if you no longer respect your parents, your teachers, and your brothers.
Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca